just so everybody knows, I'm Paige Beauchemin. I am a mom of 3 school-age kids. I am a registered nurse, and I've been a state rep for the last 3 years. I'm running for U.S. Congress in the 2nd Congressional District because I'm a regular everyday working person, and I think if we actually want to see some change, we're going to have to go there ourselves and get it done. So my top 3 things. That's such a hard question, honestly, right now, because like in normal years, like, oh, what do you want to focus on? It's like, I don't know, put the house out, like put the fire out. But what I've been saying to people is, let's just say that I have my top 3. This is what I'll do. Impeachment, because we got to stop the harm right now, right? Like turn it off. Medicare for all, because we need something good to make us all happy and like something that we need to make our lives better, right? And that's a good one because healthcare is everything, right? And the third one would be to try to end Citizens United, because we've got to get to the root of the problem, which is money in politics.
New Hampshire is home to a lot of weapons manufacturers, like military contractors, etc. So how do we build a more robust entry-level job opportunities for New Hampshire without having to rely on military-industrial complex to subsidize our job market?
That is an excellent question. And I think as we talk about ICE and detention centers and the military prison complex, the prison you know what I'm saying? My God, the industrial prison complex. As we're looking at war, and as those of us who are activists and progressives here are saying, hey, we need to stop doing this. It's really hard in New Hampshire because our economy does rely on that so much. Something that I'm really interested in looking at, and I've actually already taken a pledge with an organization, the Sunrise Movement. I have pledged to sign on to all of the policy that is underneath the Green New Deal. And I think that's a really good opportunity. I think that we can't stop all of it at once. It has to happen progressively, and we have to make sure people don't just end up being without jobs. So we have to make sure there's workforce training. We have to make sure that we are supporting them through that transition and that we're creating jobs beforehand, if we really want that to happen. So we'd have to be really careful with that. I think that the new Green Deal is a really, really great way to do that, because we're all worried about the climate. And it's taken a super backseat, even more than it did before, which was horrible. And so I think working on the new Green Deal is a way, it's one of the opportunities we'll have where we can get people who are maybe a little less inclined that way to see the benefit, because if it builds infrastructure and builds jobs and boosts the economy, I think that given that things are so hard right now, it's probably the best time that you could get somebody on board with Green New Deal stuff. I've also been talking to unions, and they love the Green New Deal stuff because they don't really care. They're like, we want to build. Yeah. And that's what matters. So I think that there is, what I know is that it takes coalition building. I don't know everything about the weapons manufacturing business. I don't know everything about the new Green Deal. But I think there are things we can do there. And I think we can figure it out if we come together.
So minimum wage in New Hampshire is $7.25 an hour, which is the same as the federal wage, which hasn't been raised since 2009. This is obviously not a living wage for anyone in any state in the country. We're surrounded by states such like Massachusetts that has more than double our minimum wage at $15 an hour. So with massive rising inflation and cost of living crisis, do you think it's time for New Hampshire to raise its minimum wage?
No. Yeah. Who can say no to that? I literally just sit in the State House and listen to Republicans speak with a straight face and try to say why we shouldn't increase wages from $7.25. I mean, it's just like, how do you even take that seriously? But absolutely. And it's unfortunate because now we've been saying the fight for 15 for so long that even if and I've been saying that since, and I'm like, why are we asking for what we need now? Because by the time we get it, we'll need more. So, people are saying all the way up to we need a $30 minimum wage. I've been looking into it a lot. And I think that we have to be really careful because you want to do it in a way that doesn't increase inflation. But there's a lot that shows that it's not that much of a risk. It's not as much as we make it out to be. The bigger problem with minimum wage and raising it is that right now, small businesses the definition is through the Small Business Association, and it's any employer that's 499 employees and below. That's very different than like an 8-person mom and pop store. So what we really need to be doing is actually protecting small businesses and small business owners, and looking at different ways of figuring out who gets those protections, who do we need to cushion more as we build that minimum wage, and we have to do it over time. One way that we can prevent this from happening in the future, though, is that when we implement, we'll implement a certain minimum wage, we'll work on getting up to that, but we also need to pair that with something that implements a regular increase based on the ratio of the standard cost of living. So there has to be something there so that it's not taking an act of Congress every time, that we're not looking at it and making an argument for it, but that it's a system that rises with the cost of living, which makes sense.
So there's an idea among a lot of conservative leaders that we need to advance AI tech to outpace China at any cost. The end goal of this talking point is to basically claim a form of eminent domain in places that do not want these massive AI data centers built in their state. So what are your thoughts on that? And is there a way to stop any sort of federal overreach before it happens?
I mean, stopping federal overreach right now under the fascist reign of Trump, I think that's a tough question about anything. What I think we should be at least trying to do is, let me take a step back. I am one of the people that is very, I have always leaned into technology and innovation. I actually worked in health tech, doing like innovation, like digital healthcare. Back in 2009, when I was in nursing school, I was part of the group of nurses who wanted to use technology in nursing, and we all had Palm Pilots. Yeah. So I will say that I go into this, I think when any new technology comes out, there's always a fear of it. And I think that sometimes that can overshadow that there can be real benefits that can help society. The other thing is, regardless of that fear and resistance, no technology has been put back in the closet except for maybe 8 tracks, right? So like, we're not going back from this no matter how much we resist it. And so I think the best thing that we can do is realize that, embrace it, and say, okay, how do we regulate this? How do we control this? And how do we make sure that we get the most good out of this and prevent as much damage as we can? And so I do think there needs to be like a moratorium. Like, we need to say no more AI development until we're able to catch up legislatively, so that we can make sure that everybody is safe, especially with the data centers. We have to be looking at that. And I do really like this idea. I think it's Bernie Sanders who is talking about, like, we paid for this AI technology. We've got to find a way that we are getting some of that benefit back. We cannot let the billionaires take all this money that off of our backs that we built.
I think that kind of goes to that kind of ties into another thing is the Green New Deal. We need better forms of clean energy, and then we could stop talking about how all these AI data centers are draining all the towns that they're being put in, and how they're polluting everything with diesel generators to like power grok and things like that. So, I mean, yeah, exactly. So this is a long intro. So the upcoming NDAA for 2027 includes a rather alarming section called the U.S.-Israel Defense Technology Initiative. The Pentagon recently released a report stating that Israel poses a significant risk to U.S. national security, keeping in mind that
who supposes?
Israel.
Israel poses a threat to the U.S.? That's what
national security, as in like spying.
So
while at the same time saying we're going to fuse our spying apparatuses together. Right. Keeping in mind that according to recent polling, the majority of Americans do not agree with providing Israel with unconditional access to U.S. weapons, and leaving aside the fact that many in the international community are calling Israel's actions in Gaza a genocide, as well as condemning their actions in Lebanon. How can Americans be expected to be okay with such a huge liability and security risk when it comes to keeping members of our military safe abroad?
Well, Kyle, I'm glad you asked. This is one of the main reasons that I am running. Let's just say, not that some people think it's a genocide, the global definition tells us this is a genocide. Any talking point that is arguing against that is purely propaganda. And it's propaganda by the elite class who knows that if we figure this out, then we're going to come together and they're not going to be able to keep stealing money from us. That's basically where it is. So I obviously very clearly recognize that there's a genocide happening right now. And I think your question was like, how do we deal with that with what's the end part again?
I guess this is more of a confrontational question to other people.
I think that an important question here, though, is as a Democrat who is recognizing genocide, not taking APAC money, and all of that, something that I said tonight is we have to call each other out as Democrats. You know, people are calling this, oh, you're a one-issue person, this is your purity. Genocide isn't purity. Right. Genocide is integrity. There's a big difference. And we should be talking about the fact that we have leaders that lack integrity right now. That's the bottom line. They do not care. They are taking money from their donors, even if it means significant human suffering of Palestinians, of immigrants, and of families like yours and mine in this country who are sending billions of dollars overseas to fund Israel, who has universal health care. Well, here we are deciding between medicine and food. Okay. Yes, I'm passionate about that.
So how can Congress reassert its power when it comes to spending and military action? Is there any will to do so from those in Congress, do you think?
No. I mean, here's the thing. I don't just think, I see progressive power building across this state. Even more establishment Dem committees I go to, people resonate with my message. They thank me. They like sigh relief and say, oh my God, thank you. I'm so glad someone's running against her. So I think that is building. What I'm seeing is just like I'm taking a leap where I shouldn't be running for Congress yet, but I'm a progressive and I'm going to try and do that. I'm seeing other people all across the state take the leap to be state rep. Right? People are doing this. People like you and me, people who stand by the things that you and I are saying, who want to hear that. The bigger thing is I'm a part of a group called the Courage Candidates, Citizens for Impeachment. Definitely check it out. We are a group of 150 candidates around the country in over 30 states who are all candidates like me who are running for congressional office. Heath Howard and Karishma are a part of it as well. The group meets every Monday. You're available. You can go. There's a bunch of chats. We help each other out because we're all having a hard time. We are all being screwed over by the NHDP. In other states, it is like 10 times worse. They are taking them off the ballot. They are calling their signatures uncertified. Like it's the corruption is insane. But it made me feel a lot better about my campaign because a ton of them don't have campaign managers. They're having a hard time raising the money. They're having a hard time paying for their voter lists. So all of this is to get back and say, that's 150 candidates. Yeah. If we could even get 10% of that, we are slowly increasing that progressive power. And I think, I don't know what will happen in the 26 midterms, but I foresee that whatever happens in the 26 midterms is actually setting the stage for the 28 election. And, I think that people are really pushing back against candidates like me. But if I knew in October what I know now, I would be kicking ass. Way more than I am. But we're having to rewrite the playbook because a poor working person who doesn't take APAC money can't run a millionaire's campaign. Right? We're figuring out different ways to do it. So I think what we need to do, I tell people campaigns for working people are going to look different. So I'm going to look different. I'm not polished. I'm not coming in with my dynasty and my political machine, right? I'm going to look different. Campaign looks different. I'm not going to be able to do all the things. I don't have people to write me one-pagers on every single thing that's happening, right? I've got to do that when I can. But more so, if we want this to happen, we as a community have to come together and say, we need to get us to Washington. And I see that happening. And that means that even if other representatives get elected who don't agree with us, the pressure is mounting, and their time is limited either way. So whether it happens in 26 or 28, I see a huge progressive wave coming. I think we can have Medicare for all very soon.
So you think the people are finally done trying to gatekeep every single candidate that comes, tries to run? Because a lot of times, like in this state, it seems like a lot of people will want you to start small and then work up and then work up, and then then it'll be your turn to run for a certain office. Whereas we know for a fact that people like outsider candidates that aren't like career politicians. Like, look, Donald Trump is the president right now. He was not a political person before he did that.
Well, what I'm saying is, I think there's a difference between the establishment Dems and the progressives, right? There's a big progressive movement swelling up. And I think that, think about this, even the most, or let me say this, the least progressive Democrats running in CD1 are saying things like Medicare for all who want it, right? But they're all trying to use these they know that they can't show they take APAC anymore. They know they have to be talking about healthcare for all. It's only a matter of time, even if they get elected, before the people say, you are not delivering on this. And people are waking up more and more. So I do think it's coming.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for your time.
Woo!